Wow, this has really been a great day so far. I'm constantly amazed at what we can accomplish when we set big goals and think outside the box. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm Lonnie Johnson, 2019-2020 Governor-elect, and this is the third session of our 3 educational programs. This hour and a half will cover youth protection, a very necessary topic for us as our mission is to serve the children of the world. Having fun at your meetings and club strengthening will also be covered. The first half hour is led by Melissa McCann.
Hello, my name is Melissa McMahon and I am the Kiwanis International Youth Protection Specialist. I'm going to be talking with you today about Kiwanis youth protection policies and procedures and how to put those policies into practice. First off, wanted to introduce myself, here is a photo, as well as our Executive Director of Kiwanis Youth Programs, Michelle Studi Campbell. Why does youth protection matter? Kiwanis Youth Programs serve over 335,000 youth each year. Globally, 1 in 4 youth will suffer some type of abuse or maltreatment. This is a statistic from the World Health Organization. Also, 85% of child abuse victims never report their abuse, and it goes unreported. Abuse is usually at the hands of a known acquaintance and family member and not a stranger. More than 90% of abusers are people children know, love, and trust. How this translates into dollars? The World Health Organization also reports that globally, within the U.S., $7 trillion is lost due to violence against children each year. This is equivalent to 8% of the global GDP. Child abuse and maltreatment are now considered a critical health crisis by the Centers for Disease Control. The total lifetime economic burden resulting from new cases of fatal and non-fatal child maltreatment in the United States is approximately $124 billion. So our goals within Kiwanis International for Youth Protection are to protect, educate, and engage all Kiwanis members, youth and adult. We want to protect youth members from predators, empower and educate adult members with the best practices when working with youth, as well as providing youth with positive skills development tools designed to inspire and engage our future leaders to be their best. Here we have, as of June 15th, statistics on how many service leadership programs we currently have with Kiwanis, as well as those Kiwanis International sponsored SLPs, the number of advisors that we have within our membership database on record, as well as the Kiwanis advisors who have been background checked. And we'll talk about background checks as part of our policy in a few slides. Also, those Kiwanis advisors who have completed the annual review of the policies and procedures. We have 94% of the SLPs are sponsored by Kiwanis clubs. And we have 78% of clubs that have identified a Kiwanis advisor within our records, as well as 73% of those Kiwanis advisors who are on record have a background check. 61% of the total percent of the Kiwanis International sponsored SLPs with the background check that an advisor had completed. And then that number equals for annual training is 35%. I know this looks like a lot of numbers, but I wanted to give a breakdown of the North American districts, the data as of June 15th, 2020. So, and I actually broke down the number of SLP clubs per district, as well as the number for the Kiwanis club that then sponsors an SLP club, the advisor that we have on record, and then of that Kiwanis advisor, how many of those have been background checked through the Kiwanis International process, as well as those Kiwanis advisors who have completed annual training. Kiwanis Youth Protection ABCs. So in youth protection, we have identified three main components of our program. We have A, accessible high-quality training and resources, B, background checks, and C, culture of care. So what are the high-quality training resources that we're providing? We want to provide our Kiwanis advisors and anyone working with our youth members with the highest quality of training and resources and leading best practices. And we have gone into a partnership with a vendor to provide modules on youth protection. And based on whether your role is an advisor or a chaperone, there is a different number. But in policy, all of our SLP advisors are required to complete the advisor role of the Presidium Youth Protection Training modules. Once this is completed, it is good for 2 years. And SLP chaperones are required to complete the chaperone modules of the youth protection training modules. And on the right-hand side is the learning portal, and you can see that there's a couple different video training modules that are listed there. And basically they're like 15-minute modules that you go through, and the topics are sensitive in that they are related to child abuse, sexual predatory, social media safety, abuse risk management for volunteers. And once you've completed those trainings, they're automatically updated into our system. You can complete and click on a certificate if you would like to keep that for your own records. All Kiwanis members who are working with youth must review the youth protection policies and procedures annually. If you'd like a copy to download, a PDF copy of the youth protection policies and procedures, you can go to kiwanis.org, youth protection. And this is a PDF screenshot of what it looks like. It's about 2 pages, and you can review that. You can also review, if you'd like to look at the full Kiwanis International Policies and Procedures, as number 432. Social media communication and best practices. The best bet is to connect via a club page, an account, and not connecting with an individual youth member. So it's best to not become friends on your personal page of Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat. It's better to use the club page and connecting with any of the youth members. Never initiate following, friending, liking with youth members, and treat all social posts and interactions as public facing. And do not post pictures of youth on your personal social media pages and emails. When you're emailing a youth member, follow the rule of 3. Always include parents, guardians, or another adult, whether that be the youth protection manager or the district risk officer, and do not engage on one-on-one emails and texts. Transportation best practices. Remember to have at least 3 people in a car when you're traveling with youth. Student members should also ride in the back seat or the back row of the vehicle. make sure that you have approval required from the parents or guardians prior to transporting the youth to a convention or a retreat or some other type of club-sponsored activity. And also, most importantly, always follow the local school or local law policy related to transportation, meaning follow the speed limit. Youth protection policies and procedures. Medication. Medication is only allowed with written permission from a parent or guardian. Reporting guidelines. If a Kiwanian observes troubling behavior involving a youth at a Kiwanis event or becomes aware of a situation that is illegal or potentially unsafe for a young person at a Kiwanis event, the Kiwanian must immediately contact the appropriate personnel on site, whether that is a district administrator, whether that is an event coordinator, and also provide notification to law enforcement personnel as appropriate. If the Kiwanian becomes aware of the troubling behavior after the event, they must contact the leaders of the event, provide notification to law enforcement personnel as appropriate, or if it's on the school grounds, the school personnel, and all local, state, provincial, and federal laws regarding reporting must also be followed. Background checks. All Service Leadership Program Kiwana advisors must have a Kiwanis cleared background check. And this means that it would be through our vendor, Safe Hiring Solutions. Background checks have also been enhanced for chaperones and club advisors, the level of background checks. We also have a dedicated, myself, a compliance specialist, to better track and communicate compliance and identify opportunities for improvement, whether that is data reporting on a regular basis to our youth protection managers, monitoring compliance of all of our advisors who have a background check. Recently, in February of 2020, there were some policy updates approved by the Board of Trustees, and single-day events without an overnight stay. All Kiwanis advisors, this means club members and non-members, registered for or participating in any service leadership program event must have a clear criminal background check and have completed the youth protection training, the Presidium training that I mentioned earlier, and all other adults participating in single-day events must follow all the Kiwanis International Youth Protection policies and procedures, a copy of which should be provided before the start of the event. Overnight events. All adults, club members, and non-members registered for or staying overnight at any service leadership program event must have a clear criminal background check history, must have completed Kiwanis International Presidium Annual Youth Protection Training. However, parents and guardians of participating students who are not chaperones may attend the event for a maximum of one overnight stay without a criminal background check. And what this means is if a parent of a student who is receiving an award at district convention, a district key club convention, or international convention, and the parent is not planning on staying for the duration of the whole conference, and they just want to go see their child, attend the event, the luncheon, they are not required to have a criminal background check. Chaperones. Chaperones must be 21 years or older. All chaperones, club members and non-members, participating in any single day or overnight SLP-sponsored event must have a clear background check. They must have completed the youth protection training, the chaperone training I mentioned earlier through Presidium, must follow all applicable policies and procedures related to youth protection. A minimum of one adult per 10 students must be serving as a chaperone during the entirety of the event. And each overnight Kiwanis-sponsored youth event must have a minimum 1 chaperone per 10 students. And how this breaks down is that adult chaperones must include 1 adult male for each 10 youth males or part of, and 1 adult female for each 10 youth females or part of 10 youth females. Meaning, like if you have up to 8 or up to 6, there should at least be 1 adult female for each 10, but if it is 8 or 7, you should have at least 1 adult female or adult male possible. Adults may not share sleeping quarters with students unless it is their child or in a bunkhouse camp setting, like a retreat cabin type setting. Policy and practice, chaperone scenario. So here we have examples of how to apply the youth protection policy. So scenario 1, Casey is a 20-year-old former Key Club governor and now a Kiwanis member and wants to chaperone the DCON weekend. Casey turns 21 on the last day of DCON. Can Casey chaperone the DCON? What do you do? Casey cannot be an overnight chaperone for DCON. Casey could be invited to assist with the workshop or other pieces of the event. She could do registration, take names, to encourage participation, but she would not be considered a chaperone and would not be able to stay overnight. Your Key Club DCON is coming up in just 5 days, and you have 50 chaperones. You are following best practices, and all chaperones must complete a background check. 45 have cleared, and 5 are pending. What do you do? The chaperone must pass the Kiwanis International background check. Give your volunteers a deadline of no less than 4 weeks prior to your event to ensure adequate time for background checks. It typically takes our Safe Hiring Solutions, our vendor for background checks, 2 to 3 weeks, and we've seen them as quickly as a day. It typically depends on, we do a federal, state, and local check, and so depending on the access that they're able to get with the local county background check history, sometimes that determines the time on how quickly it turns around. If you are still short on chaperones, work with your district youth protection manager, Kiwanis Club members, or district leaders who have a clear background check, as well as faculty members for chaperones. Policy and practice social media scenario. Scenario 3. Pat is a new college graduate and a former Key Club youth leader. Pat is a member of the local Kiwanis Club and will be a Key Club advisor. Pat is also a communications and marketing professional. Pat is very enthusiastic about the new role. Pat friends the faculty and students in the club on Facebook. Pat posts photos of the first meeting on Facebook, Instagram, and even creates a new Key Club Snapchat filter. What do you do? It all depends. If Pat has the appropriate permissions and waivers from the school and guardians to post on Facebook or Snapchat and is using the club's page, then that is okay. If Pat is posting on their own pages, it is not okay. Policy and practice overnight event scenario. You have a big overnight trip with multiple Key Club chapters, 35 students, 19 females, 16 males, are staying overnight on this great trip. 3 days before the trip, you learn that in the past year, one of the students, Al, is now Alice and identifies as female. What do you do? How do you do the room assignments? How do you assign the chaperones? Procedure 434 within the Kiwanis International Policies and Procedures has guidelines for student accommodations at events. When planning events, and especially those with overnight lodging, Kiwanis organizers should be inclusive and make reasonable accommodations for the unique needs of each student participant. If the standard situation for an overnight event is shared rooms by gender, students must be allowed to access housing consistent with their self-determined gender identity. However, a student shall be assigned a room by biological sex if the student or parent or legal guardian so requests. A student or parent or legal guardian may suggest an alternative sleeping arrangement, such as single occupancy room, which should be honored whenever possible. However, students cannot be required to stay in single occupancy accommodations, nor those arrangements be made without the consent of the student or parent or legal guardian. Roommate disagreements should be addressed and resolved with the best interests of all parties in mind. If a disagreement cannot be reconciled, no student should be forced to reside with another student. Also, all students must be allowed to access restroom facilities consistent with their self-determined gender identity. Event organizers should choose facilities that can be adapted to accommodate requests in accordance with these guidelines. If a facility is unwilling to accept these guidelines for any reason, a different location should be considered. Volunteers have an obligation to maintain student privacy and cannot disclose or require disclosure of a student's sexual orientation, transgender, gender nonconforming identity, biological sex, religion, disability, medical condition, or other personal information to anyone, including other students or their parents, without the consent of the student. Our third component of youth protection is culture of care. Culture of care, our intent with this is to provide the resources for adults and youth, to provide positive youth development, adolescent behavioral health. So while students are participating in the Kiwanis clubs, the service leadership clubs, we want to provide an environment that is safe and that is nurturing. Recently, Kiwanis International launched a new dedicated youth protection helpline. This helpline, the 866-607-SAFE, is staffed 24 hours, 7 days a week by trained professionals with Presidium. Kiwanis service leadership members and adult members can report inappropriate behavior, abuse, or policy violations to this number. Calls will then be routed to our youth protection team to investigate and follow up. If you have any questions or inquiries or requests related to any of the youth protection guidelines, you can find more resources at kiwana.org, youth protection, or background checks at kiwanis.org, email at youthprotection@kiwanis.org. Hello, my name is Melissa McMahon, and I am the Kiwanis International Youth Protection Specialist. And today, I've put together some youth protection and virtual meeting tips that you can use as your club transitions to possibly holding Key Club, Builders Club virtual meetings. So as Kiwanis service leadership programs move to virtual or online meeting platforms during this time of COVID-19, as the schools have closed and some of the extracurricular activities have closed, Kiwanis members have still been meeting virtually. And some are using Zoom, GoToMeeting, Microsoft Teams, or Google Hangouts. Oftentimes, you can set up an account for free. If you would like more information on how to set up an account, you can go to our kiwanis.org website and search for COVID resources. But as service leadership programs offer events or virtual meetings, we wanted to offer some reminders to continue to keep youth safe virtually. So all of our Kiwanis International use protection policies still apply in virtual meetings. Some of the recommendations that we have and some best practices for virtual meetings are using business type platforms. Like we said, Zoom, Skype, those types of platforms that have good safety and privacy features, avoiding the platforms that are used for other purposes like gaming, using Xbox or Discord. Also, it's important to use a unique link for the virtual meeting invitations instead of using the same general link that you might on a month-to-month basis. Using a unique link requires that individuals must have that unique invitation to be able to enter into the virtual meeting room. Also, using a password feature for all meetings eliminates or prevents non-Kiwanis service leadership members or just random strangers trying to access the virtual meeting if there's a password that is set up in the platform. Also, remember to not publish the meeting links or the URLs on a public forum on your Key Club website or your Facebook page. You want to send those invitations for virtual meetings with youth on an individual basis or in individual emails. Also, remind attendees not to pass along the meeting link to non-Kiwanis student members. You can also use the waiting room feature, which if you're not familiar with this, basically when you set up your Zoom meeting, you can establish a waiting room so that the host can allow users to enter in, and so they can verify, does the name match up with the picture of the person. And you may even ask for all of the participants on the Zoom call to actually type in their name instead of just a generic Apple user. They might actually say, this is Melissa McMahon, and the picture matches that person, and that you're ensuring and screening applicants or that people that are trying to enter into the virtual room, that they're supposed to be there. Also, you can disable screen sharing by non-host or presenters. So as student members come into a Zoom or a virtual meeting, you can set up your settings within the platform so that only the host or the presenter is sharing their screen, so that you don't have students sharing inappropriate things back and forth to other students without you knowing it. You can also disable the private chat feature and set it up in the platform so that only if there is any kind of questions or chat, that it goes directly to the host or maybe another co-host, someone who has been designated as the person responsible for answering the questions, so that students know that they're not private messaging each other during the presentation or during the virtual meeting. And this isn't to say that students are encouraged to participate and talk and so forth, but we just want to make sure that everything is appropriate. We also recommend that do not take pictures of the Zoom meeting where there are multiple shares of different youth photos, or take a screenshot through your computer. We don't want to take photographs or video without express consent given from the students. And also do not record activities, online activities or the meetings, and then post them online in a public forum. So you don't want to do a webinar and then share that onto your Facebook page without consent and of all the participants that are in the meeting, and making sure that their parents and guardians have agreed that that's okay. We also want to make sure that the students that are participating is their appropriate attire, are their appropriate tops and bottoms, not wearing pajamas and so forth. Also appropriate background and noises. So keeping background noises to a minimum and distractions. There's also background images. Want to make sure that there's nothing inappropriate in the background. On the Kiwanis.org website, which I've listed a link, there are some images that you can download the Kiwanis backdrop, and you can upload it into your virtual meeting if you would like to have a Kiwanis logo as your backdrop. Also, alcohol, tobacco, and drugs are not permitted in or outside of virtual calls. This aligns with our youth protection policy as well. Appropriate language. We want the virtual meetings or the virtual activities to be a celebration, a welcoming event, talking about service and leadership and fellowship with one another. So language should not be bullying in nature or vulgar or name calling. And if it is, then the advisor needs to speak up and stop that type of behavior, because that's not the quality code of conduct that we expect our student members to uphold to. Inappropriate conduct. If anything is inappropriate or threatening or offensive in nature, they should be called out and stopped. Also, I wanted to share a resource for you if you're not already familiar with it, but Youth Protection has a Presidium Youth Protection training, and advisors are already set up. So the Service Leadership Program advisors are already set up with user passwords and usernames. If you don't have that, you can request for it to be reset and sent to you through the email at the support@presidiuminc.com, or you can contact me at youthprotections@kiwanis.org, and we can send you your password. But there is a social media training that you can take to educate yourself more about virtual media, social media, online activities. If you're someone who is not familiar or not interested in social media, but you know that the students that are involved in your service leadership club are, this is one of the training modules that advisors are asked to take. And if you're a Kiwanis member and a non-advisor, and you would still like to take this course, along with several of the other child abuse prevention, sexual abuse prevention courses through Presidium, you can actually go onto your Kiwanis member page in the Membership Update Center and click a link that says Create Presidium Account. You can also review the social media policy if you have any questions. So all Kiwanis members who are working with youth must review the youth protection policies and procedures on an annual basis. And if you'd like to look for the latest copy, you can always find it on the Kiwanis.org Youth Protection website. And lastly, Kiwanis International has entered into agreement with Presidium to provide a 24-hour, 7 days a week hotline that Kiwanis adult members or youth student members can call and report abuse, child abuse, inappropriate predatory behavior, or any kind of policy violations. This helpline is staffed by professionals, and they will then route calls to the youth protection team, and we will investigate them further and proceed with next steps. So if you have any questions related to these tips for virtual meetings, you can reach me, Melissa, at the background checks at Kiwanis.org or youthprotection@Kiwanis.org. And if you'd like to know more about youth protection policies and procedures, you can visit our Kiwanis.org Youth Protection webpage.
That was an information-filled session. As a reminder, these presentations will be available later on YouTube. We realize these education sessions are coming at you fast and furious. Now let's shift gears and consider the equally important aspect of having fun at your meetings. Emily Sharp, an area manager, will lead a presentation on this great topic. I hope no one is allergic to fun. The floor is yours, Emily.
Hi everyone, my name is Emily Sharp and today we are going to talk about how to have fun at your Kiwanis Club meeting. This is something that is super relevant to us as Kiwanians and something that is easily done and you can do in your club as well. So let's get started. First of all, my name is Emily Sharp, again, like I mentioned, and I'm the Northeast Area Director on staff at Kiwanis International. And today we're going to talk about how to have a fun club meeting in 3 easy ways. Number 1, here's some thoughts on how to have it fun. Number 2, here are some tips and tricks that might help you along the way. And finally, we're going to learn to get rid of the rumors and create realities. So, think in your head, how many times have you been to a meeting like this? People are bored, they are not engaged, they're not participating, they're counting down the minutes until the time is done and they can get up and leave. Like, unfortunately, this is a reality sometimes, right? But what we want is something more like this. Yay! Everyone is excited to be there, they're having fun together, and they're really enjoying each other's company while also getting the business done and making things happen that they want to happen, being productive and having fun together. So you might be thinking, how can we make this happen? Well, I'm glad you asked. So the first thing I want you to think about is the mission of Kiwanis International. There is a fill-in-the-blank statement on the screen right now, which is our mission. So let me read it to you. Kiwanis is a blank organization of blank, dedicated to improving the world one blank and one blank at a time. So I'll give you a second to think about what words might fill in those blanks. Here's the answer. I hope you got what I got. Kiwanis is a global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world one child and one community at a time. So what does that mean? That means that there are thousands and thousands of volunteers just like you all over the world who have a focus on children in their communities and helping them be the best that they can be. What an amazing mission and organization we are a part of. So at times it is really hard to argue about silly things that we think are big at the time. So for example, instead of saying to someone that you may not agree with, well, we shouldn't do it that way, we should do it this way. It's hard to have arguments when you are really focused on being a mission-centric club. It's hard to become too political when we keep our focus simply on the mission. So are you a part of a mission-centric club? Something for you to think about. So next, the next thing I want you to focus on is, are you speaking the language? And no, I don't mean French or English or Spanish. I'm talking about speaking in words and language that your members can understand. As we all know, communication is key. So communicate the details. Something that might be helpful, let's say, for example, you have a new member in your club. Do you have a calendar of events and important things that they need to be at readily available so that you can grab them and give them one before they come into the meeting? That way they know what is expected of them. Here are some upcoming events. Here's what I can bring new members to. Here's what I should be prepared for when it comes to business, so on and so forth. So a calendar might be something that's helpful and something to think about for your new members or even your existing members. I'm sure they would like that too. The next thing, encourage feedback. I am someone who loves feedback, whether it is something I necessarily want to hear or not, but oftentimes it can be difficult to hear, right? Well, when you encourage feedback, you are only going to better the process. And oftentimes we forget to do that with our members and with our participants. So encourage feedback, and I might start with some type of an anonymous survey. That way people are going to be much more forthright and upcoming maybe, on their thoughts and feedback about what's going on in your club meeting. But it also gives them a way to participate. So that way you, as a club member or as a leader, can take this and do something with that information to better your club. And then finally, give meaning to your rituals. We all, and I mean all of us, have those sacred cows, if you will, where this is the way we do it, and this is the way it's always been done, and this is what we do every week. So here's my challenge for you. Throughout the rest of these slides, you're going to see a bunch of different ideas on how you can change things up. So my challenge to you is try one of them. What is the worst that can happen? Nothing. The worst that can happen is that you're going to walk away with trying something new, and if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't. But if it does, it could really change the momentum for your club. So that's your challenge. Let's talk more about rituals in a minute. So here we have a Mr. Potato Head. I have seen several Kiwanis clubs take up this option of having an officer installation. So what if, for your retiring directors and the past president of your club, what if they were represented as the bulk of Mr. Potato Head? They were the actual potato in the toy we know as Mr. Potato Head, okay? And then you put on top the hat representing the retiring president, right? That way, the hat is representing the wise counselor for the board or for the club, something that is, showing what they might represent. Or as you have the club secretary, they are the ones who are in charge of club communication. So maybe you put on the mouth on the Mr. Potato Head. So again, something fun, easy to do. We probably have one of these lying around our house, or we can easily get one. Just something fun to do when it comes to officer installations. So next we have invest in your members. One thing I want you to think about is what education opportunities are you providing for your members? I know recently we have done a lot of interesting guest speakers during this time when we have not been able to leave our houses, and we might have been doing a lot of virtual meetings. So, are you inviting interesting speakers to speak in your club? Are you inviting local people, maybe international people, guest speakers to provide thought-worthy and thought-provoking education to your members? Another thing you might want to think about is, are your members going to your local DCONs or to Kiwanis International events, such as the International Convention? Those are opportunities where your members can learn so much information and really dig deeper what it means to be a Kiwanis member, the service that we're providing to the children and community, as well as how to be a leader or learn more leadership opportunities that can help them grow as an individual. The next thing I want you to think about is, are you being relatable? Think about the daily activities that you're doing in your club. Are those activities and projects and opportunities that your club members actually enjoy? Are you doing a pancake breakfast that has been around for 20 plus years? If so, that's great, as long as your members are enjoying it. If they're not, what's the point? So something to think about. Take a look at the activities you're doing and see if they're still relevant. If they're not, that's okay. And if they are, that's wonderful. Next, meet them where they're at. There are going to be so many different club members within your club, I hope, that are new, that are established, and maybe some that are unmotivated. So the way you're going to work with someone who is unmotivated is different than someone you're going to work with who is new. Because if they're new, they're probably super interested in everything that you're doing, learning everything they can. But maybe someone that's unmotivated might not find the value in doing things as they once did. So how can you spark some motivation to that person, but also know that you're going to have to interact with different people within your club? And finally, something I want you to think about when it comes to investing in your members is the concept of joining versus belonging. So here are a couple sentences for you to think about. Joining is what a member does. Belonging is how a member feels. Joining is a transaction. Belonging is an experience. Joining is rational. Belonging is emotional. How does that make you feel? Would you rather join an organization or would you rather belong to an organization? Let me say that again. Would you rather join an organization or belong? Think about that. What members in your club have joined or what members have are belonging? Maybe we should start thinking a little bit more about belonging. Something for you to make you go, So next, some more tips and tricks on how to inject fun into everything that you do. There are so many different Kiwanis clubs around the world. I'm talking about in so many different countries. There are big clubs, there are small clubs, there are just a million different types of Kiwanis clubs. And all of them are very different, and that's what makes them so unique and so special. So let me tell you about a couple of different clubs that I think you might find interesting and might spark some joy for you to take back to your club. So there is a Kiwanis club in the Georgia district, and they have a dessert night. There's a member who specifically loves baking, and they have helped other club members within their own club learn how to bake. So once a month, everyone in the club brings different desserts that they have made, or let's be honest, some may have bought, which is okay too. And they share desserts with each other. And they're all different kinds, and they all bring to-go boxes that they all take their desserts home with them. And it is something that they truly love and enjoy, and they find so much value in that. And they all started with one member who shared her passion for baking. And that passion spread to so many different club members, and something that they find fun and engaging within their club. Something else I want you to think about. How do you celebrate birthdays within your club? Do you? That is something that is so simple to do, is just have someone in your club designated as the official birthday celebrator. So have someone who is in charge of maybe getting a birthday card for members to sign and send, or maybe having someone bring in cupcakes for all of the different birthdays for the month of August. And let's celebrate them all together when we're all together in one place. Next is an open mic night. There's something that might be helpful for you if you were to just take a step back and look at them differently. Do you have to start out with, the business at the beginning? What if you did it at the end? Again, not a have to, just something to think about. So next, let's talk about the concept of fun, expected, and relevant meetings. What if we walked into your Kiwanis Club meeting knowing you were going to have fun? It was something you were going to be passionate about. You were looking forward to going there and you were excited about going. So how can we take that concept and think about from gong to gong? Because, sometimes at a Kiwanis Club meeting, we have a gong that we ring at the beginning of the meeting and maybe at the end. What aspects are strange or might be awkward to guests? So if you have someone new coming in, what might they not understand based on how we are running the meeting? What could we consider rethinking? And that's what I mean by those rituals that I was talking about. Also, how could you shake things up to entice a broader membership base? Again, shaking things up being change the order of your meeting, or have everyone wear their favorite color to the meeting. I mean, simple little things can just give it a new perspective. Or also explore ways to make your meetings more interactive and engaging. What if once a month you had a Kiwanis Club meeting at a location where you don't normally meet? What if you had it at a brewery rather than at an IHOP if you have a breakfast meeting? What if you changed it? What new members could you bring in that way? Or what new members or even existing members could you re-engage by changing up the location every now and then? Something to think about. And one of the most important things you can do, and if you walk away from this workshop with anything, I want you to walk away with the concept of how to show your appreciation. It is really, really easy to say thank you, but you should say thank you with meaning, because the littlest things can be the hardest things to do. So say thank you for that person who is always there on time, because maybe they struggle getting there on time and they're putting a little extra effort into getting there on time. Say thank you to that person who is always willing to stay and clean up after fundraisers, even if they have something else important to do following the event. Say thank you. It's super easy to do. Like I mentioned earlier, welcome feedback. Again, you can do this in an anonymous survey, survey your members once a month, once a year, whatever you want to do. And make people feel great. Again, recognize what makes each person unique and utilize ways to make them feel great. So whether they want to tell that joke at the beginning of the meeting, or if they want to share a new idea, just make them feel great for being a part of your club. And then rethink the way you recognize individuals. Is your club known for giving certificates? If they are, and if that works for your club, that's awesome and good job. But if not, if a certificate is not motivation, then what if you did a high five? Would a high five motivate somebody? Sure. If not, what would motivate your club members to do something outstanding? Think about that and see if there's any room to change the way you're recognizing people. So now we are going to play a little game. So we're going to play myth versus reality. I have a couple of different myths that are common myths within a Kiwanis club, and we're going to talk about why they are simply myths and not the reality. So here we go. Myth number 1, once we pick a time and date for our meetings, we can never, ever change it. This is most certainly a myth, because as a club grows, we should really encourage them to review their traditions, including the time and date that they meet, to be sure that that can work for everyone. You know, some people change jobs or they may change activities, and so the date and time that they were originally meeting wasn't conducive. And if that's not conducive for everyone, that's okay, but we want to make sure that members are able to join us. So think about it. Another thought I want you to think about is many clubs don't meet once a week. They don't sing songs, and they don't even have meals together. So even if they're not doing these things, they're still a strong club. So what does that mean for you? Do you need to change something in your club? Again, not a have to, but something to think about. The next myth is clubs must do the same service project over and over, or they will never be known for anything. Friends, I'm here to tell you that is definitely a myth. And why is that? Because service projects should reflect the interest of your members as well as the needs of your communities. And as we all know, both of those things are often changing. So it is really important for us to be smart and to review your projects and make sure that they are correctly impacting the community in a way that is best serving your community. So if that means you need to change it, do it. And if not, keep doing what you're doing and always strive to improve and build on your efforts. The next myth that we have here is we don't need to ask those we serve what would help them best. We just know. Friends, again, that's a myth, because let's say, for example, the annual canned food drive for the local pantry is nice. However, what if the organization needs specific items? So instead of doing just a canned food drive, what if you were super specific and said, this is a peanut butter drive? That way, everyone in your club is able to bring in peanut butter, which is the highest need for the local food pantry that you support. And you can do that by making a simple phone call to the organization to ask them to say, how can we best serve you? So when it comes to doing what's best for our communities, sometimes making the ask is the simplest thing to do. So the last myth for you is don't waste your time visiting other clubs. They've got nothing to teach you. And again, I am very happy to share that this is a myth because other clubs may be successful in areas that your club is struggling. For example, if your club is struggling getting your event publicized and getting the PR attention that it needs, maybe a club near you is really successful at that. Maybe there are some tips and tricks that we can share together that would help each club be successful. And so you can learn some PR tips, that they are really successful at. Or maybe your club is really good at fundraising, but they need some help with fundraising. So it's really great to invest in each other's clubs, not only your club, but the clubs around you as well. We can all learn from another. So let's make sure we're taking advantage of that. So something I want you to do within your own club is to do a think, pair, share activity. Something super simple to do. And here are a few questions you might want to think about. What does a positive club culture look like? What does that look like for me as an individual? What does that look like for me as a club and my Kiwanis Club experience? Next, what do you need to change or start to create that positive club culture? Are there things that you can think about right now that you might want to change or that you might want to start to build a more positive club culture? And also, who can help you make this shift? We all know some things that we might want to change, but can we do it alone? Maybe, but would it be better if someone was helping us along the way? Yes, of course. So who can help you? Think about those people within your club and who you might tap into to make some things happen. So I want to end you with thank you for taking the time, like I mentioned earlier, to watch this presentation. I know you have other things that you can do, but the fact that you chose to watch this one really means a lot to me. So it's super simple to do, but thank you for taking the time. And if you haven't listened to Kid President, which I would highly encourage you, go to YouTube and watch a Kid President video. I don't think I can say any better than he does with this quote. Everyone can be boring, but you're gooder than that. So thank you for watching this presentation, hanging out with me. And again, my name is Emily Sharp. Here is my contact information. If you ever need anything, I'm happy to chat, always willing to help, and I appreciate you. Have a great day.
Hi, my name is Bronte Lacey, and I'm thrilled to have been chosen as a recipient of the Burlington Edison Kiwanis Club Scholarship for my freshman year at Washington State University. The Kiwanis has been visible and outstanding in my community my whole life. I was raised by a single mom, and we attended and still attend the salmon barbecue and pancake breakfast fundraisers, yearly back-to-school fairs at our local park, the community Easter egg hunts, and recently mass collection events for the frontline workers. It wasn't until I started high school that I discovered the mission or intention of Kiwanis is to improve the world one child and one community at a time. This influenced my high school choices and, in addition to my sports, it kept me motivated to keep my 4.0 GPA and to serve in leadership and mentoring positions throughout my high school years. Just seeing all that Kiwanis does for my community makes me excited to begin my studies to become an optometrist and find a way to link vision services with my own Kiwanis Club once I become a member. Thank you, Kiwanis, for all your support.
That was a great presentation. It is critical that your club have some fun if you want to engage your members. Service with an ample supply of social will keep your membership engaged. I hope you've enjoyed these Kiwanis moments that we've slipped into today's 3 sessions. I appreciate each Kiwanian who has taken time to share their experiences. The last session is one of the essential ones for every club. Listen to our very own Roger Bell as he talks about strengthening your club.
Welcome to how our club can remain strong with a new normal. I'm Roger Bell and will be leading this learning track that Jackie Sue was to be on, but because of travel and time constraints, we decided together that I would be the presenter. So here we go. Why are we discussing the new normal right now? That just might be the question in your mind. We're starting that conversation right now so that we can be prepared to be stronger than ever in our service to our communities, because COVID has changed the world we live in, and no one can dispute that. Who would have dreamed that we would not be meeting in person or wearing masks and practicing social distancing and seeing businesses of all sizes struggle and unemployment skyrocket? Yes, the world has changed dramatically because Kiwanians are discovering new ways to remain connected and communicate. For example, using GoToMeeting or Zoom or YouTube. Some are starting to say, hey, this works. Maybe we should continue, at least in some of our meetings, with this format. Or, hey, we can have great speakers from anywhere in the world for our programs at our club meetings. We're discussing a new normal also because Kiwanis needs to remain community relevant. We need to be providing the services that are needed. I recall the story of a club providing a grade school with backpacks for several years, and all of a sudden the principal of that school said, hey, we have more backpacks than we can give away from years past because everyone gives us backpacks. But you know, we have kids that don't have coats or gloves to wear when it's cold outside or uncomfortable. Be sure that your club is providing a relevant need. Kids need Kiwanis now more than ever before, with no sports, classrooms, drama clubs, and just plain so much uncertainty in their lives. Foremost, to ensure your club is able to meet those needs is membership retention. Keep your members involved in the community by utilizing the tools and resources that Kiwanis has made available to you. Oh, and your dues have paid for. First, we must actively promote membership growth and retention. This does not just happen. We have to work at it. Consistently work at it. Second, make sure you have a designated membership chair. This person doesn't do everything, but is the leader of your growth and retention team. Next, train your membership committee. Kiwanis has provided resources such as ACE tools, that is Achieving Club Excellence tools, that are valuable training material when utilized. And the district has the top membership team in Kiwanis International to assist as needed. Ask for their input and support. Then we must have set membership goals. It's okay to stretch what some might think as unrealistic goals in this area. As an example, a few years ago, my own club president charged the membership team with having a net gain of 10 members by year's end. I thought, wow, come up with something more reasonable. We haven't done that in years and years. Well, he got a net gain of 11 members. Without a set goal, that would likely never have happened. So set goals for growth for your club. The last step is to keep all of your members actively engaged. Find ways to make every member's contributions important and matched to their interests, skills, and abilities, even when health or work limitations are factors. Someone needs to keep attendance. Someone needs to make calls and send cards or emails, etc., etc. There are tasks that everyone can perform to match their skills and abilities, even with health and work limitations. So be cognizant of that. I remember as my year as governor wound down, I initiated a program called Operation Engagement, wherein I asked every club to actively engage every member. It worked as the district significantly reduced backdoor losses for a net gain in membership at year's end. Make it work for your club too. Just how do we know if our members are happy, satisfied, and engaged? Well, ACE has a tool to determine that, and it's called a Member Satisfaction Survey. You might say, that is fine. So when we are meeting in person again, we will look at doing that. My response is, right now is the perfect time to conduct a survey before we can return to meeting in person. Besides, it gives us a meaningful goal to accomplish and prepare the club for future service. There is no doubt that the norm is changing. And as far as to the when to conduct the member satisfaction survey, it is appropriate for right now. Check out the details in the ACE tools for conducting your survey. It is important that all members understand why we want to do the survey. It is to assess the club experience in 4 areas. First being club management. Are our officers and committee chairs functioning? Then membership strength. Do our numbers and skills match our activities? Then community service impact. Are we making a measurable difference in our community? And finally, the membership experience. Are the members engaged and having fun? We have found that utilizing a person outside the club to facilitate and collect the results is beneficial and achieves more honest answers from members when they know that their responses will not be identified to them by their handwriting or previous statements they may have made. The district membership team can assist in finding that person for your club. Now, past Governor Jackie Sue McFarland tells a story from her home club where after several attempts to allow a district leader from outside her club to conduct this survey, they finally agreed. She relates how the club felt there was no value to doing so since they did so many things correctly. But to their surprise, they found several things to work on, making them a stronger club and more relevant to the community needs. Wow, this stuff really works. So we've completed the survey and the results are in. What do we do now? Well, first, don't try to address everything that you've learned all at once, but rather choose 2 or 3 opportunities to improve your club. And yes, they are opportunities. You cannot just choose them, though, but you must act on them to see improvement in your club. If you take action, your club is now on the path to improved member satisfaction. Now let's talk about the virus. Yes, it will end, and we'll have a new normal. What will it feel like? What will it look like? What will our children think? What will we think? And what will those we serve think? These are all relevant questions. Once the virus is over and we start to define what is normal now, it is time to utilize another tool from the ACE toolkit, and that is rediscovering your community. Our communities have changed, and we will need to keep up and change with them in order to remain relevant to current needs in the community. Rediscovering involves another survey, but this one is designed to gather data about what the community needs from people who care, like Kiwanians. It also can help us to identify potential partners that we can together address the needs and strengthen relationships within the community. This ACE tool gives you a step-by-step plan to navigate through the process. It will reveal information about the impact your club's service has, partnership opportunities with other organizations, possibilities for expansion, and maybe identify potential members that want to work on the same solutions. While this tool was designed to be used every year, and when the club experiences significant changes in membership or service interest, there is no doubt now is the time with the changes we are experiencing. As soon as possible to be out in the community, get started on this survey. So we've completed another survey, and what are we going to do now? We have unimaginable opportunities never seen before to make a real difference, but it will take personal involvement. We must personally be involved in rediscovering what's important to our community. What has changed with COVID? What's different because of our social justice issues? And what are the economic impacts? We must personally be involved in redefining how our club will meet the new needs. For our club to truly remain connected and viable to the community, we need to continue to measure and ensure our community roots remain strong through making note of how many other groups want to partner with our Kiwanis Club, through seeing that other organizations want Kiwanians on their boards, through measuring the visibility of Kiwanis in the community, and through ensuring that our club's activities are relevant to the community's current needs. Finally, how do we know that our club is relevant? We know because we have completed the member satisfaction survey, and our members are happy and actively engaged with the community. We know because we have completed the Rediscovering Your Community survey, and our club is addressing new needs in the community. And we know because we're seeing the community want to be a part of and partner with Kiwanis. If you have any doubts, just imagine this child's life being enriched by your club's efforts. And remind yourself of our famous hashtag, Kids Need Kiwanis, and know that Kiwanis needs kids. Like this face that can dissolve away grumpiness and indifference. Thank you, and never forget, this is why we are Kiwanians, for those we serve. Where you get more help is from the best district membership team in all of Kiwanis. Other districts want to emulate what we do for a reason. We are a successful team. We work together and complement each other. What's that old saying? No brag, just fact. Yes, our team is led by Kathleen Moylan with a supporting cast of Greg Wegrick, Jackie Sue McFarland, Bob Munger, and Roger Bell. Ask for our assistance or go to Kiwanis.org for the tools that you need to make your club successful in these changing times. Thank you for participating today. This PowerPoint and printed narrative are available on request. Just send that request to me, and I will email those to you. That's ROGERDARAT@gmail.com. And have a great DCON as we continue for a day and a half still.
Hi everyone, my name is Rochelle Daniel. Earlier tonight, one of my favorite people, a Kiwanis leader, called me up and asked me to make a video about how Kiwanis has impacted my life. I'm thinking, yes, that is something I can talk about for hours. Challenge accepted. And then he says the video should be a minute or two long. And I'm wondering, how can I talk about an organization that has changed my life in so many ways in such a short amount of time? So here goes nothing. I was in Builders Club for middle school, Key Club for high school, and Circle K for college. Obviously, Kiwanis has been a big part of my life for a very long time. During that time, I have held various leadership positions. One of the most notable would be Lieutenant Governor for Key Club. I remember at the time I was being selected for that position, I had a lot of self-doubt and wondered if I could do it. My peers and my mentors convinced me that I could, and to this day, it is still one of the best decisions I've ever made. The support and opportunities I have gained through Kiwanis have been instrumental to my confidence and abilities as a leader. I've gained lifelong friends and memories that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. So how has Kiwanis impacted me? Kiwanis has made me want to speak up when I could stay silent, stand beside others who are standing alone, and see opportunities where others may only see failures. It is who I am. It is my core values, my dearest friends, my best memories, and undoubtedly, it is my future. Kiwanis is everything.
You know, if every club would just consider implementing one idea that Roger shared, I think the PNW would amaze the Kiwanis world. I hope that these 9 topics were valuable to you and that these 3 sessions have aided you in your growth as a Kiwanis leader. To share what is coming up, here is a word about the upcoming activities of this virtual convention.